a brother falling in love with his ex-brother-in-law, an author and his pseudo-boyfriend finally admitting they're truly in love. Sort of.
Ooh, Yaoi reading.
And today I'm here to talk to you about Junjo Romantica Vol.5 by Shungiku Nakamaru. We shall read the back and delve into the nitty-gritty. Destiny, jealousy, and a messy bath. Just another day for the couples in Junjo Romantica. Mazuki may already have his hands full with Usami, but his life is about to get a whole lot more complicated with Usami's brother, Haruhiko, makes an appearance. What is behind the unpleasant past of Usami and his family? This volume also features a whole new mini-series, Junjo Terrorist. Professor Yami may enjoy flirting with Haru-san, but what will he do when he gets his own little love terrorist? This is rated M for mature, so it's 18+. And it's published by Blu Manga. Now, this is the first one, at least in the ones I own, to have a little color insert poster of the couples, which is nice. I think this is, I have to remember the names, but I believe this is from the Terrorist. I think this is the Junjo Terrorist one, if I had to go by the pairing and the look. So, yes, art style is very pretty. Hasn't changed much. It's very nostalgic for me. It very much so reminds me kind of like a cross between One Piece, Sailor Moon, and I'm trying to think, maybe a splash of Dragon Ball Z, kind of, but not really. So, yes, that's the art style for this one. I really like it. I really enjoy looking at it, so it makes it a pleasure to read. Now, let's delve into the plot. It opens up with Junjo Romantica, the title story, and we see the head publicist manipulating, I can never remember his name, with Usami, manipulating Usami into going to a award ceremony in his honor at a hotel, a very expensive hotel, and he manipulates him by telling him, hey, guess what? You might want to go because Mazuki has never been, and he wants to go really bad. Which Mazuki has no clue it's happening, Mazuki has no clue about the hotel, and Mazuki has had no desire to go to somewhere he can't afford to pay for himself, because he knows he'll be indebted and have to do some dirty things to pay it off. So, he gets manipulated into saying yes, Usagi does. Usami does. And Mazuki gets manipulated into going by being guilt-tripped, saying that if you don't go, and he won't get his award, and I'll get fired. And so they both end up going to a very expensive hotel. He ends up haphazardly meeting Usami's brother, which is very cold, very tight-laced, very kind of traditional Japan, kind of very, you have to stick to what the family wants, you have to stick to the family business, you have to do honor by the family. So it very much so is just one of those that you sit there and you go, huh, okay. It's just, they're complete polar opposites. One's more fun-loving, fantasy-driven. The other one is more staunched, feet in realities, digging heels in deep. Just very traditional. And they're very different. They have pretty much a blowout fight in front of the publicist, in front of, I can't remember her name, Misaki. And Misaki watches Usami's brother belittle him and rip him apart, and then Usami blows up at him and calls the brother a big idiot, and how dare you have an opinion on something you've never read or never have had any interest in reading. And you don't know what you're talking about, and storms out of there dragging Usami with him. And those two end up having bang bang smash mash, and they both realize that they love each other in their own ways, and they're coming to terms with that. They're setting their ground rules. It's very cute. That is a very big, smoothing story. Now, the next one is about an ex-brother-in-law who gets tasked with taking care of his little younger ex-brother-in-law. So, what happened in the story was, the dean of a college calls in I wouldn't call him a fellowship professor, an associate professor. I think he's a full-blown like classic literature, antiquity literature professor in and begs and pleads with him, saying, please, I need you to watch my son. I know this is really awkward because you just divorced my daughter, but you're the only one I can turn to because she just got remarried and she's bringing her husband home and they're going to have honeymoon at our house and I'm going to be out of the country and he can't stay in a hotel himself, he's too young. And we see him fighting back on it. But he agrees to it because, I mean, he doesn't want to piss off his boss. So, the young man is his ex-wife's brother. And what ends up happening, we have this really weird flashback as to why it's so awkward for him. Well, his sister's brother, at least if I'm reading this correctly, in the past went up to what would have been her fiance, they were not together yet, sexually harassed him to the point where the guy said, fine, you want to know what it's like to be with a man. He forces himself on him. There is no penetration. He just gives the guy, his ex-brother-in-law, a hand job. And we sit there and I'm like, okay, this is a little intense. It was very unexpected. But it got rid of the boy for a time. And then they meet up like a few months later, where now he realizes and finds out that this man is actually going to be his brother-in-law. So it's a very WTF moment. And then fast forward, he's divorced from the sister, and the dad's asking a favor, and the relationship has always been really strained. Well, the brother's just gotten home from studying abroad in Australia, and he's like, okay, well, maybe everything's cooled down. Well, it hasn't. The young boy is still madly in love with him and wants to profess it, but here's the big but. He still has never done anything with another guy. He is terrified, he has no clue what he's doing, and yet again it ends up with kind of a weird, rapey scene. And that's kind of what they leave us with the relationship as. They end it with us seeing them at breakfast together. And this is a few days later. It's just very odd. That one was actually my next favorite because it had a lot of dynamic, it had a lot of background, it felt very well fleshed out. I don't think I did it justice explaining it, but it felt really fleshed out. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to see what's going to happen to that one next. And then the next one is the Junjo Egotist, or the Junjo... Is it Egotist? I think it's Egotist. Yeah, whatever. Egoist. Junjo Egoist. And I will tell you, that is not my favorite story. It moves too slow for me. It felt like a weird retelling of the story that was before it. Two men end up taking the train together, rushing, and then they meet up and realize they have a common past together. And it's just really odd and awkward. Not my favorite story. I kind of skimmed through it and skipped over it because it is not my favorite. So yes, I really liked this volume. It felt very well-rounded. Both the two beginning title short, Junjo, and then Junjo Egotist, I will tell you I really thoroughly enjoyed them. I really, really liked them. This volume felt really good to me because it didn't have the Junjo Egoist in it. It had the Junjo Terrorist and the Junjo Romantica in it. So yes. In the next volume, though, it has said that it's primarily about the Junjo Egoist and the Junjo Terrorist. So I'm not entirely overjoyed about the Junjo Egoist, but we'll see how it goes. So far, I'm liking the series. I'm starting to remember why I loved it when I read it, realizing why I loved it when it first came out back in 2002. So yes, if you guys have read this before, let me know your thoughts down below. Shoot me a like, favorite, subscribe, share this with a friend who likes Yaoi, and I'll talk to you guys later.
You like what you see? Then...
subscribe!